Hello, my fellow friends and investors. In this video, we're going to be talking about a really interesting ETF that I personally really like, and I'm probably going to be buying this at some point in the future. So by the time you watch this video, I am pretty sure I will own shares in this ETF. Now, I'm not saying you should buy it. Always do your own investing and make your own decisions. I just wanted to show you something that I really think is interesting, and hopefully you can learn some stuff about investing in ETFs by watching this video. So VOX is an ETF, and the investment provider is Vanguard. Vanguard is a very reputable investment provider. They're a very low-cost investment provider, and that's the reputation they have. In fact, Vanguard is so popular, there is an entire group of people on the internet known as boggleheads, and they have a very interesting philosophy, which is, I'll just summarize it quickly, but it's basically buy and hold low-cost funds over the long run, and you're going to see growth. And what I have to say about that is when you buy anything, when you buy a basket of stocks, which is basically buying an ETF, you're participating in the growth of those companies. So in this case, you'd be participating in the growth of the Communication Services Index. And this is a fund that tracks that index. It's called an index fund. Let's look at the top holdings here. So this is why I like this fund. Look at the top holdings. You've got Meta, Google, Netflix, Verizon, Comcast, Disney, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Charter Communications. Pretty cool, right? And here's some information on the fund. So we can look at it, give you a good look there. You can see it has an expense ratio of 0.1%. There's the SEC yield. That's roughly the dividend yield. You can read about it by clicking here. It tells you. So I'm not going to read all this now, but that basically is roughly a dividend yield. And here's the net asset value price, the NAV. Okay, the NAV. It's like what it's actually worth, right? Because there's a market price, right? And there's like what it's worth. So this is an open-ended fund. So in open-ended funds, which are ETFs, an ETF is an example of what's called an open-ended fund. The difference between the market price and the NAV is very, very tight. But if you look at closed-end funds, that's a whole different thing, and I should make a video on that to show you because they're not very popular. There's a bigger difference, and so when you buy things, you can buy things at an actual discount, which is kind of cool. But a lot of them always trade at a discount. So anyways, that's another video. Let's keep looking at VOX. Here's the inception date. That's something I always look at. Is it meaningful? Probably not, but I don't know. When I'm putting my money somewhere, if I'm going to buy something and spend even just $50 or something in one of these funds, you can buy fractional shares at some brokers. You want to make sure that you're not going to lose all of your money. Now, this is not a risk-free investment, and there's there's disclaimers and stuff always, but it holds a lot of stocks. Let's actually go down and see how many stocks it actually holds. So it should tell us down here 117. So when you buy one share of this, you're participating in the growth of 117 companies in the communication services area. And then here you can see the different sectors, right? And this is really cool because it tells you what types of companies you become an owner of, right? By participating in ownership, you're kind of like an owner. Now, some people who are really into the ownership, they'd rather own the stocks directly. That's fine. That's something that people do. So here you see Meta, again, is the biggest holding here. So that is 23.13% of the fund. And then Google has two different ones. The difference between these is one of these has voting rights and one of them does not. Okay, that's the difference between these two types of shares, but it is the same company. Then we have Netflix. So you can see that's quite a few shares, right? So you've got 11.83%. I want to emphasize this in Google, and another 9.52% in Google. So a big chunk here, that's a lot. Add up these percentages, and you're going to get a number that's over 40% in Meta and Google. I mean, that is interesting, right? So that's what you get with VOX. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I like Google, right? Google owns YouTube. I like YouTube. I know what that is. Facebook, I think, is a really good website. People use it. So these are things I know, and I know that they're popular today. So, if you were to use the Peter Lynch, investing philosophy, which Peter Lynch was a famous mutual fund manager. He's a money manager from Boston, and he ran the Fidelity Magellan Fund, or Magellan, and the fund grew incredibly during his tenure as money manager at Fidelity, and he's written a lot of books. His name is Peter Lynch, and he would always say that you should just buy what you know, right? Whatever industry you're in, think about the things around you. Try to use what you know, and make your own decisions on what to buy. And that's when you're buying individual companies. You know, that's the advice that he would give. Let's go back to VOX. So VOX is a pretty cool ETF. So I just wanted to make this video to show you VOX. Yeah. So I hope this has been helpful. And as always, make your own investing decisions. Always do your own research before you buy anything. And don't believe anything when people start saying stuff like, "Oh, this will always work," or this and that. No one knows for sure. Like, you can look at VOX and you can see probably here that it's going up. And what I think is going to happen, I mean, here's what I think. This is just my opinion. You can see here how it went up post-COVID. We had a big boom post-COVID during this time. Microsoft really took off. Let's look at Microsoft. Let me show you something really interesting here. So Microsoft took off here, you see, and then Microsoft beat that. It's already gone past that. So I think VOX and a lot of the other stocks in the market or sectors are just playing catch up now, and they're going to blow past that. So like if you look at the financials, this is just, they've blown past that peak. You see that post-COVID peak. So I always look at the post-COVID peak because that's like the most recent high besides the one we currently have. And just when you look at stock charts, that's what you do, right? You look at the highs and lows. That, by the way, is called technical analysis. And just having a basic concept of that, basic concept of trend, helps you in making buying decisions. But as you can see, for the S&P 500 over the long term, from this chart, you see the trend is clearly up. What's going to happen tomorrow? Nobody knows. Be safe, everyone.